is cardiac. Catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Let's go. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps. Hand for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Here we go, Brownies Nation. Larry Lorella from Lorella Vineyards. Dustin Cook from Here We Go Brownies. We're here to talk a little bit about Here We Go Brownies wine. Dustin, let us know.
That's right, guys. The season wasn't what we wanted it to be, but the wine is amazing. Platinum winning, award winning wine. Here We Go Brownies wine. Come get it here at the winery or go to lorellavineyards.com. And remember, a portion of every single one of these bottles goes to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to help those that are in need and hungry. That's right. Here we go, brownies. Here we go.
Woof, woof.
I know that choosing a realtor is a big decision, especially in a market like Cleveland. Hi, I'm Crystal John Toney with eXp Realty, and I grew up right here. I know these neighborhoods, the values, and where the real opportunities are. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or investing, I'm here to guide you every step of the way and make sure that you don't leave money on the table. Let's make your next move a smart one.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery, coming at you live from Pensacola, Florida. And join with me, as always, we've got Dustin out in Cleveland, Ohio. Dustin, how are you?
Well, a couple days ago, I was in a t-shirt. Today, I'm in a sweatshirt. This weather is wild. We had tornado warnings last night, so that was kind of fun. I'm sure your parents told you how crazy the weather is down, how that storm came through. But speaking of the food bank, I just want to give a shout out to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We had an amazing Monday night. We put together a Here We Go Brownies volunteer event. So Allie, you'll love this. We packed 30-pound boxes, 220 boxes for a total of 6,600 pounds of food that went out to seniors and kids in the Greater Cleveland area. Don't ask me why I signed up to do the 30-pound boxes at the end and put them on the pallets. I was very sore the next day. That was literally a good workout in addition. And then I put Ray on the taping. But we had about 14 people showed up, so that was a lot of fun. We're going to do it again. But just kind of cool to just go in there and see how it's done and how you can help so many people that are in need in the Greater Cleveland area for that go hungry at night, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. We are very appreciative of everybody joining us tonight to talk about your Cleveland Browns. Dustin, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to be filled with anxiety as we lead into the draft and just in general, like, to be honest with you. But as we approach the draft and as we really get into the thick of building this roster for 2026, I find myself very anxious, and I guess I don't really have a word for what I'm feeling exactly. And I'm just questioning Andrew Berry's ability to do this the right way. I mean, I don't know I don't know if I'm necessarily maybe questioning his right way. Anxiety around his decision making, and if this is going to too frustrating.
I'm going to say I'm the opposite of you in this situation. And the only reason I really, I don't know if I'm anxiety or anxious to what the Browns are going to do. For me, it's what he did in the last draft. Do you know what I mean? That was more, for me, the biggest thing was like, wow, he really hit it, and he didn't even have to hit on all of them. But what a draft, right? That we did.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, that's one out of.
No, I get that, but again, and then what he did prior to the draft, getting an extra pick, I think that was a good, smart move, right? So I'm always I look at history currently versus past, right? Is he projecting in this direction or this direction when it comes to, the draft and free agency? I feel like we did good in free agency, right? Like we got some offensive linemen. We were pretty efficient. We did what we were supposed to do. So yeah, I feel good about that. Now, the thing that makes me just anxious, just in general, about all of this is the quarterback position. I'll be fully transparent. Like where I get a little anxiety is it looks like we're going to give Shedeur a shot, and then Jimmy Haslam makes some comments at the owners' meeting. We'll get into that. I guess that's where I'm more anxious to like, oh, well, heck, maybe we might pick up Ty Simpson with the 24th pick. That's where my anxiety comes from, is the quarterback position, because I am literally just shell-shocked from the quarterback position my entire life.
We should be, right, as fans. But we're totally opposite. I'm anxious leading up to the draft precisely for what you mentioned, having that extra pick. Yeah, it was great last year to move back, obtain an extra first-round pick, but now push is coming to shove, and we have to now draft a player with that extra pick. That's where I've got a little anxiety, right, where now it's actually coming to fruition, and it's going to be tangible. We are going to see what last year's trade will now result in. So I have some anxiety surrounding that. I actually don't have a ton of anxiety surrounding the quarterback situation. I think, and we'll get into this here in a moment, so I don't want to spend a ton of time here, but with what Jimmy Haslam said at the owners' meeting, that to me screams kind of like last year, right? Where there was a ton of smoke. Hey, the Browns are taking Travis Hunter no matter what at 2, and they didn't. They talk things up and they move in a different direction. And I think when it comes to the quarterback situation, I actually believe if I had to put money on it today, which I would because I am a betting woman, I do think it's going to be Shedeur Sanders to start the season. Now, I do think that they will still bring somebody in or have an open competition between who's already on this roster. Mm-hmm. But put money on it today, that's probably the direction that I would go. My anxiety really is identifying, because it's not like there's just one area of need, Dustin, right? It's not like, oh, the Browns are a quarterback away from figuring this whole thing out, or the Browns are a left tackle away from making the Super Bowl. No, we've got like 4 pretty solid areas of need that could be addressed in a couple of different ways. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's where my anxiety lies. You mentioned on a couple of podcasts ago, or even last podcast, where you said, when you're sitting at 6, I don't want to reach out of desperation.
1,000%.
Now, I think that there's a ton of talent at 6. If you were to stay put, I feel pretty comfortable with a lot of the guys that are going to be available to you. Where I start to get anxious, and I want to bring David on here in a moment, I know he can speak to this, is some of these rumors out there where they're like, hey, they really like this guy. They might reach for him. And those guys are going to be available at 24 or in the second round. That's where I find myself anxious, that they are going to kind of look at this saying, oh, we have 2 first-round picks. We can get a little crazy with it. And I don't like that at all. Andrew Berry, yes, he had a great draft last year, and there's still some question marks, right? They took 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. Not my favorite, but overall made some good selections, got some good value. But if you look at the rest of it, it's like, sure, there were some things here and there that worked out, and there were a lot that didn't. So I have some concern going into this draft with the capital and assets that we have, that they're just going to mess this up. Now, I think it is fair, and you said you're shell-shocked. It is fair for us fans to be shell-shocked and anxious until they get it right. They have not collectively proven to us that they can do that. Sure, maybe they're on an upwards trajectory of doing so, but they're not there yet. So pardon our anxiety, but as we get closer, I just find myself questioning whether or not we're going to mess this whole thing up.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, and I kind of almost doubled down on it this weekend because I was able to go out to the primetime event and be around all those great Ohio State Buckeyes, including Sonny and Lorenzo Styles, the brothers. I got to spend some really good quality time with those guys. And I got to tell you, man, yeah, we aren't trading Myles Garrett. I mean, Andrew Berry seems he's just like annoyed to even hear about it anymore, based on the NFL meeting. But I will tell you this, man, if you were to put a Sonny Styles on this Cleveland Browns defense, like, okay, let's go. Like, again, if he falls to us and he's available at 6 and you're not desperate to take a tackle and you can get one at 24, then I kind of like where the organization is going with this. Take the best player available no matter what your area of need is, because I think that just makes you a better football team, right? There's no there's no other quarterback that you can reach for. We know it, one's going at number one, and then it's kind of a drop off. But man, if it's the best player available and somehow he falls into your lap and can be a generational guy for your defense, hell, you take a guy like that. In my opinion.
I want to stop you here because I want to bring David on for this conversation because I have a question for both of you. So before we bring him on, Dustin, you mentioned primetime in that signing. Why don't you tell our listeners about primetime sports?
Yeah, guys, if you haven't got a chance to go check out any of their new stores, including the one in Belden Village or the one at the Great Northern Mall or Hartville or wherever you can find them in Northeast Ohio or online at Primetime 12, check them out. We had almost 16, I believe it was 16 Ohio State Buckeyes that were out there this weekend. And by the way, they are just good human beings, great guys to hang out with. A lot of people showed up for Sonny and Lorenzo Styles. But, I just say check them out. Allie, you've shopped there. You've gotten some stuff from Primetime Sports. Great place. Local company. Always we like to support local as well. They're a local Ohio company. So check them out at primetime12.com.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's bring him on. Dr. David Ullery. It's the medical moment brought to you by our friends over at Primetime Sports. Of course, we're going to expand this. This isn't just the medical moment. This is the NFL draft Browns / medical moment / whatever we decide to talk about. David, how are you?
Hi, Allie and Dustin. I'm great. The weather is beautiful. The burgers are on the grill. They're going to be slow smoking until we're done with the show. This is life. This is living life. I tell you what.
Someday, David, I'll be able to tell you my weather's better than you, but tonight I cannot. But it was like 70-some degrees just a couple days ago, and I was like, all right, fall, spring, something else, and of course it's Ohio, So anyway, I'm just waiting for consistent 70s. And by the way, I get to go to San Diego at the end of this month. Never been. So I am looking very much forward to 75, 80 degrees every single day for several days in a row. So I'm looking very much forward to that.
Yeah. Jason says, did you just wake up? And David, stop it. Did you
Sorry.
wake up? And David actually has been downstairs in the pool area tiling. We are doing some home projects. David, he's a doctor. He does this podcast, but he's also a very good tiler. I don't know if that's the word for it, but he's very good at doing that.
Handyman. He's a good handyman.
Yeah. So no, I didn't just wake up, Jason. It's just I'm a little, been working and my hair is a little messy from that.
Hey, at least you have hair. At least you have.
So I wanted to bring you on for this conversation, David. I'm sure you heard what Dustin was saying, and about adding somebody like Sonny Styles to this defense at 6, if they're available to you. You posed this question the other day. You said, hey, if Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs are there and they are projected to be Hall of Famers one day, right? Hall of Famers. And forget the fact that maybe there's a position of need, whether it's tackle, receiver, what have you. Let's just paint this picture. There's a Hall of Famer available to you on the board at any position. And there's also Francis Maui-Noah to fill in at tackle, that'll probably be really good and fill a position of need. But what do? You've got a Hall of Famer, and I know this is just a hypothetical, guy, so don't take me literally, but a Hall of Famer and a position of need in this current juncture. What do you do?
Well, yeah. So, I'll start. We talked about this, like you said, and I think as we've spent a little more time doing mock drafts and analyzing and seeing what that can still be available, even at 24 and even into the early third round. To answer your question directly, I think you got to take the Hall of Famer, and then this is we go back and forth, and I go back and forth, and everyone goes back and forth on this, but and this may be different from what we talked about or what I said last week, but in my mind currently in this moment, I think I've seen that there's depth at wide receiver, and there's maybe not a ton of depth at offensive tackle in this draft, but there's still something that you can get later on in like the first round or early second round. And so if you have a Hall of Famer staring down the barrel of your draft pick, like it's so hard to say no to that because you know what that can do generationally for your defense, especially at I know safety isn't like the highest value position, but you see what someone like Kyle Hamilton does to a defense and what Ed Reed does to defense. Sorry to bring up 2 Ravens in a row, but it's just they know how to find those guys and pick them, and they take those Hall of Famers. And well, I guess it at least has made their defense really good for decades, but maybe it doesn't translate into that many Super Bowls. I don't know. It's so hard to say no to someone who seems like they're a surefire Hall of Famer.
And of course, we don't know if any of these guys will be. Like I said, this is purely a hypothetical. But I mean, Dustin, in this situation where you've got, let's just say somebody that is going to be a future Hall of Famer, and let's just say that that player, just for this conversation, is Sonny Styles, okay, or Caleb Downs. Actually, Caleb Downs. Let's go with Caleb. Can come in and be electric for the next 10 years and go to the Hall of Fame as a Cleveland Brown, or like I said, filling an area of need. David, are you ripping paper? What is that sound? You've got
to. It's happening again.
Those AirPods. Okay, Dustin, what do you do in that situation?
I think you take a generational player.
Right.
Again, I mean, your team gets better immediately because of the talent that you're drafting. And we see it time and time again. And I'm not just saying the Browns, but you'll see teams reach. The Jacksonville Jaguars did that with us last year. They reached. They said, that's the guy. We want him. He got injured. Again, it's an asterisk. We don't know how great of a player he's going to be in the NFL. I don't think you should reach. I think if that guy slips to you, I just saw a clip that really made me think, it was the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were showing this behind the scenes of them kind of masterminding the NFL draft, right? And they were like watching how players came off. And I got to tell you, the next thing you see is them all clapping and going, thank goodness they took that player because, man, look what just fell into our lap. This is going to be a generational player. So, yes, I don't think you reach. I don't want to take a tackle at 6. I think I'm completely talked out of that now. I think taking a tackle that high in the draft when you probably will have maybe 2 or 3 left around the bottom of the first round, I'm okay with. But if a generational player falls to you, absolutely are all in because your team is just going to be that much better.
Yeah. I want to pose this one. I saw this today and it kind of just – actually, David, before I get into this, because this is going to segue into something else, I want to ask you, David, you were listening to Todd McShay, and he opened his podcast with something that was semi-jarring. Can I turn it over to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that segues perfectly from Dustin's previous comment. So he started out his show, his national draft show, speaking about the Browns at 6 and Caden Proctor. It was a 20-minute segment that they opened up with just talking about his traits, his evaluation, and that he got very mad because, they thank you. I appreciate that. Summer Nets, baby. Let's then probably go. So they talked about Caden Proctor, and they got pretty heated because they're all kind of in agreement that Caden Proctor doesn't have the best tape. Kind of a traits guy, but like run blocking just gets beat a lot, and like weight fluctuated, all this stuff. But basically, what Todd was saying is that he has it on good intel, and Todd's got all the inside sources. I mean, he talks to everybody and he knows his stuff. And he basically said, like, listen, I am not starting the show by talking about Caden Proctor and the Cleveland Browns if this isn't valid information. And he has it on, so level that there is some traction with the Browns potentially reaching to get Caden Proctor at 6. And it is, I think it made us sweat a little bit.
That makes me more than sweat.
I absolutely.
Well, I will tell you though, people like Hanford Dixon might like that because he's a huge Alabama fan. But other than people that are Alabama fans, I don't know who's going to like that.
Listen, as a diehard Ohio State fan, if that Ohio State player is there at 6, and I don't think it's a good fit, I don't want the Browns to do it. I think it's important, listeners, to separate your college fandom from your NFL fandom because sometimes it simply doesn't translate. I want to go on record and say I don't dislike Caden Proctor. You can get him even late first, early second. You can talk me into that as a player. I think that he is a bit of a project. There are some concerns, but I like him as a player. I just don't like him at 6. Just like I would say if the Browns were all in on like Jeremiah Love or Dustin, Ashton Genty last year, I said, I like him as a player. I have no issues with him as a player. I just don't like him at 2 or at 6 in the top 5 to 10 picks. That's where
I'm okay if a team comes calling for Love at 6 and we trade down a little bit and we get draft assets. I'm in.
Can I tell you guys something? I think, and I have been in a position, I mean, we've watched so many Browns drafts. We have had to be absolutely locked into these drafts. And so many times, Dustin, in the past 7 years, I've been like, do not trade back, just draft the best available player. This is the first draft in a long time where I firmly believe it may be in our best interest to actually trade back into the teams. Because I think some of the players that they like, who I also like, I like them better in the teens than I like them at 6. Now, if you stay at 6, I'm all in on somebody like a Carnell Tate. I'm all in on somebody Sonny Styles, or best player available, whether that's Ruben Bain, Arvell Reese.
Right.
It's Jeremiah Love, right? You can talk me into some of those things. Where I'm not okay with is somebody like Caden Proctor, who should be a late first or even a day 2 guy. You can't take him in the top 10. I don't like that. That freaks me out. However, if you go back last year, David, we talked about this. This kind of screams a little smoky, if you will. They're putting up some smoke screens, trying to get it out there that they are in love with a player at 6 to maybe entice another team to come up. That would be my guess. Truthfully, I don't know. Caden Proctor at 6 is very rich, and I just don't think I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and it's just his his theory or his thought is that it's 2027 or 2026 is an experiment season for the Browns, and that they are going to be essentially figuring out offensive line combinations to pluck their quarterback in 2027 and go from there. And so, he said, while Proctor may be a bit of a project, they think they can develop into the anchor of the line maybe for the 2027 season. But to your point, when they said that, when I brought it up to you, you said, well, then why not just draft somebody who's ready now? Somebody who's a little bit more developed and already can do that. And I mean, I completely agree. And so I don't doubt that there might be some smoke and mirrors happening here just because we saw it last season. And if they can, get somebody to bite and jump early there and move back 4 or 5 picks, just like you said, then you can still get your guys and maybe get another second rounder, another early second rounder, late first rounder. And then we know that there's a good amount of depth in the 20 to 40 picks where we can, I think, really find a lot of value. So I don't know who Todd got that info from. I trust him. I believe him. I just don't love it.
I don't like it. You know what? Actually, if we have time after this conversation, we can even run through a mock draft simulator. I'll share my screen. We can run through it, maybe do the first 3 rounds just to kind of play with some scenarios on what those trades may look like. Of course, obviously that's very different than what probably happens on draft day. Nonetheless, maybe that's something that we can do on either today's show or another one. But
I like that idea. Yeah. But you're right. Like, why reach as a guy that probably could be there at 24 anyway? Like, what are we doing? Like, why would you go reach for somebody that could be already there at 24? I mean, maybe you're trying to create some smoke and mirrors. Okay, that's fine. Every draft room seems to do a little bit of that. Like, the Browns brought in Simpson at quarterback on a visit. Are they trying to show that there's interest and we may take a quarterback just to see if somebody will move up into the bottom of this first round? That could be I can buy into that if that's a little smoke and mirror you're trying to create there.
Well, it is. I don't know, but I'm finding myself filled with anxiety. And Dustin, to tell you, to start the show, how I said, like, I'm a little nervous about how things are going. And then David hitting me with that about Proctor at 6. I'm like, I can't do this.
Well, because here's the thing, like the offensive line coach is a really respected offensive line coach, but if he is 1 year away, okay, we've had Joe Thomas on this show, right? And he's talked about how long it takes the offensive line to gel, and it's not till a quarter or halfway through the season before they actually become a unit. You're going to bring somebody in that's raw even more than another ready, set, made guy. That doesn't make any sense to me at all, right? That doesn't
unfortunately, it's something they would do. It's something that they have done. And that's where I'm like, I just don't love it. I'm a little anxious about that. And like, I get it. I mean, Brian's coming here building for 2029. I understand, like, I get it, but yeah, it just sucks every single year to have this. But, David, your point kind of my point from that conversation of if they take Caden Proctor at 6, why not just take somebody that is already developed? And your point being like they're kind of kicking the can down the road. However, and expecting 2026 to be somewhat of an experimental year. What if Shador Sanders, and a lot of people believe this, what if he is the guy? What if he's the answer? They found him in the 5th round. He's the answer. He's the long-term solution. He's going to lead you to the promised land. Then why treat 2026 as an experimental year when you have 2 first-round picks that can just better this roster? And I guess the answer to that is it all boils down to their view on this entire quarterback situation. It is, I mean, it's tough. This is a tough place to be when there's talent, but not a ton of answers or an upward trajectory of what this can and will look like. But I look at these 2 first-round picks, and I will just tell you this both. I want to go on the record. I'm nervous about it. I'm going to continue to be nervous about it until they show us otherwise. So I want to kind of segue here a little bit. MJ Emerson was brought up in Jimmy Haslam's availability at the owners' meeting. And, of course, free agent coming off of the Achilles situation, tough place to be. Don't really know if he's going to kind of test the market, try to be a starter, or if he'll have a place back here. But if he does not come back to Cleveland, look, if you're sitting at 6 and best player available is Mansour Delane, is it crazy to even consider corner there? We're having a conversation right now about safety, Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles, linebacker. Can we throw corner into the mix? If he's the best available and there's a run on receivers early, or maybe you trade back, there's a run. Could there be a conversation about that? David, I'll turn it to you. I mean, we had a little bit of a conversation about this. Any thoughts here?
Jason's reaction has me dying. No, I
it's
mean,
not what I really want to do. I want to specify. It's just kind of a thought that I had in my head that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I totally. I think a lot of that does depend on what happens with Emerson, because, I mean, going back to that and exactly kind of what you said, like, I think it's just a little strange. I mean, he's currently a free agent, and I get that. Coming off of an Achilles injury, while he was having a great couple seasons there. I think it's gonna be really hard to go and find a place that's going to sign him to be a starter right away. Now, maybe he has obviously a lot of belief in himself, because that's what you should do as an NFL player. But at the end of the day, I think his best place to land is back in Cleveland, because he had a really big role here and was a really important player, and I think he can continue to build upon that role for himself. But regardless, let's say he doesn't. Let's say for whoever it is, they end up signing him and he leaves Cleveland, goes elsewhere. I this thought never crossed my mind until you brought it up today, but I absolutely think it could be a reality, and maybe that's part of the smoke and mirrors. Maybe it's trying to talk up this the early offensive tackles, get a little run or a little steam going, maybe even drop back a couple spots, because right now, I mean, Mansour Delane's all over the boards. Looking at PFF, he's number 9 with the number 1 cornerback. Looking at some other ones, he's like number 3. Others he's at 2. So, there isn't maybe not a total amount of unanimous favor for him. But I think overall, if you looked across all of the average boards, he's probably number 1 for his position, and being ranked in the top 10. I mean, he's a cornerback. Cornerback is a value position. It is one of those positions that gets drafted high when they're good players, and so it is a position of need. It is a high value position, and I think with losing MJ, it would be totally realistic, and maybe he's not best player available if you're comparing apples to oranges between him and, let's say, Caleb. But while Caleb may be that generational NFL player, Mansour Delane fills a need a little bit better. And if they're going to be one versus the other, 6 versus 7, 7 versus 8, in the draft order, why not go with him and fill the need that you have? It's not crazy. It definitely is not crazy.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I also don't love it. I see Jason's comment about keeping Emerson. I think that's probably the preferred method, right? He's familiar. He knows mostly the system. I like him as a player. That would probably be preferred. But in the event that he's not, that kind of does create an area of concern that, hey, you're pretty thin at corner, something to consider. With an aging and somewhat injury-riddled career for Denzel, like what you saw last year with Tyson Campbell, but, there are some question marks. So just wanted to kind of throw it out there. I don't think it's the craziest idea in the world, but I think it just goes to the same conversation that we were having, Dustin, about best player available. And look, you're sitting at 6. There's going to be some dudes. You got some guys that are.
Well, I mean, I would not be shocked if this football team takes a running back at 6, because you look at players that are dynamic and can make a difference on offense, right? And Andrew Berry has really stuck to his word after the firing of Kevin Stefanski and what the team was going to focus on. That was offensive needs, right? Things that are going to change the dynamic of this football team. I mean, everything, and maybe David, I know you guys follow Todd McShay, I mean, from everything I hear about Jeremiah Love, he is that once in a generational type of running back that could make a difference for a football team for 6-8 years, like a Nick Chubb. So would I be shocked if they did that? Maybe, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if they fell in love with him and said, we're really good at drafting running backs, and this guy could change the dynamic of our football team. Now that leaves, the guy from Tennessee kind of out there, and but I mean, this football team was the best when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were 1-2. This football team was on all cylinders.
David, what do you think?
Like taking a Jeremiah Love at 6?
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I don't know. Absolutely generational talent. I mean, we've seen it. He looks every bit of the part. But I think they need to adjust other places more. I think that they have a great option in Quinshon. He's going to come back healthy. Just side note, little update on him from a health standpoint. He is ready. They're expecting him to be ready to go for training camp. So he's going to be full go come season time for sure. He'll be in shape, ready to roll. I know, like McShay saying he's dropping. People are going to kind of see the running back thing, not the value that it should be. He's going to be maybe bottom half of the top 10, maybe even sneak into like 11 through 15. So he might be available at 6. I can't commit to it. And it's hard because we see what Gibbs did to Detroit and like just the change that he made for that offense. But they needed a running back. I mean, they had an aging Dave Montgomery, and they really needed someone there. Whereas the Browns they have someone younger with a ton of promise and hope. And I think for filling the team needs, I like either trading back and getting a couple more picks or Carnell Tate. I don't know. I have a hard time committing to Jeremiah Love at 6.
David, when the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs, I remember that draft. We were talking about it. I mean, we didn't watch it together, but I mean, we were very involved in that draft with what the Lions did. They needed a running back, as you mentioned. That was their like one area of need. So it made sense for them to do it. But I still, how many times have I told you, I hated that pick. I hated taking him there. But I can also see the value in what he's done to that offense. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. He is awesome. He's one of my favorite running backs to watch. I just think that there are so many dudes available at 6. If you stay put at 6, that could potentially change the course of where this franchise currently is sitting. So let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to walk through a mock draft simulator. I really just want to show not so much about us putting our GM caps on. I just want to show what trades may be available, if any, and who is available in most scenarios at those positions. Before we do so, Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about City Barbecue?
By the way, guys, if you haven't tried it, with 6 Northeast Ohio locations, that's right, City Barbecue. It's amazing barbecue. Get it on your way home. Go there for lunch. Or if you want to book an event for weddings or any type of thing, go check out City Barbecue today.
And, I mean, here it is. This is the recipe. Brian's got it. Our good friend Brian's got it. Take the best available at 6. That's my point. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. We are going to run through this simulator. And again, I just want to, for everybody that's listening, just highlight the fact that this is not so much us putting our GM caps on and what we would personally do. I just really want to showcase a couple of different scenarios. Sorry about my dog. Okay. So stand by, it's loading. Of course, we've got an ad here. So we are only going to do the first 3 rounds. I don't want to do a 7-round mock. That's really not what I want to do here. So we are selecting as Cleveland for the 2026 draft. We're only doing the first 3 picks. All right, let's get into it. By the way, can you guys see my screen? I know it's probably a little small. Sorry for the ads to the side, but let's go ahead and get started. We are using NFL Mock Draft Database. The reason being is I do not have a PFF subscription, so we would have to pay to make any trades there. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's our first trade. San Francisco is offering this year's first, which is 27 overall, second, fourth, and a 2027 second, fourth, and another fourth. I don't love this. I don't want to move back to 27. If anything, I would be interested in moving back into the teens. So I say, and I'll let you guys, I'll throw it to you. I personally think we should reject this for the sake of this exercise, just to show who's where, what, when, why. I don't really want to look at next year's value. So next year's picks don't really mean a ton to me in this exercise. I don't like it. Toss it to you guys. What do you think?
Skip. I don't like it either.
We'll reject it. All right.
Yeah, I'm good with
So,
that.
available to us at 6, staying put here. We've got David Bailey, Ruben Bain, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, and then, of course, if we want to specify by tackle here, Monroe Freeling, Spencer Fano, Caden Proctor. In this example, let's do 2 of these. I want to see who's available at 24 if we go tackle first, and also who's available at 24 if we go receiver first. So in this exercise, let's take Carnell Tate at 6 and see what tackles are available at 24. How do you guys feel about that?
I would actually take Caleb Downs in this situation if he
All
fell.
right, let's do it. Let's do that. We're doing it for the first couple of picks here, or first couple of rounds. So let's do exactly that. Best player available, it's Caleb Downs. Let's draft him. Okay. We are back up at 24. I'm going to reject these trades because I just want to see who's available. At 24, let's look at the receivers. Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion.
There we go.
I like this. I
Okay.
like actually these top 3, but I want to look at the tackles that are available.
Yeah.
So here we've got Caden Proctor, Blake Miller, and Jennings Dunker. I think all 3 of those guys are potentially worthy of a first-round pick. But personally, I think that there's a bigger drop-off at receiver. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree. Can you scroll a little bit? Because, I mean, you got Caleb Tiernan, Crownover Parker, Jude Bowery. I mean, there's still some pretty good value even beyond what we're seeing at the top 3
And
there.
if you look
Right?
at the interior,
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting too. We could
Caleb
go
Rutledge
both.
is a beast.
Yeah.
Who's the top 3 wide receivers again?
Top 3 receivers, we've got Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. But if we scroll here, as you can see, there is a bit of a drop-off. Now, I like Jeremy Bernard. I like Malachi Fields. I just don't like them in the first round.
I think I take a wide receiver here at the
I
bottom.
think so too. David, where are you at on this one?
I agree. I think these top 3 kind of separate themselves from the others, whereas between tackle and interior, we can still get some pretty good value early in the,
All right.
in the second.
I'm pretty partial to Denzel Boston, but I'm really being talked into Omar Cooper Jr. Do you guys, any of you guys have a preference here?
You're talking about the guy from Washington. I like him.
All right, let's take Denzel Boston at 24. Let's see who's available to us in the second round. I'm going to reject these offers. Ooh. Now I think it's important to really look at tackle or interior of the offensive line. So at tackle, we've got Caleb Tiernan, Crownover, Parker, Bowery. I mean, there's a little bit of a drop off. So as you can see, if you don't take a tackle or an offensive lineman in the first round, there could be a bit of a drop off. However, I want to highlight something. I am falling in love with Keelan Rutledge. I think he is a dude on the interior of this offensive line. I want to turn it over to you. If there's any other positions you'd like to maybe consider here, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
I personally got to go O-line here because now you're kind of like first, top of the second. I got to go O-line.
David.
Yeah, I agree. I think whether it's tackle or guard, I think just kind of taking best available here. I agree with you. I mean, Keelan Rutledge is a beast, but I don't know if we like him over someone like Emmanuel Pregnon or Caleb Tiernan, who I think is going to be a great tackle too. So regardless of who it is, I think offensive line is the position we have to fill here. I know scrolling back, just looking, and I know this is not part of the exercise totally, but right there, best available is Ty Simpson. And who was it earlier in the chat? Someone asked about Ty Simpson in the second round, but I to answer that question, I am not interested in that. And I think that's a little bit of smoke, like we said earlier. So I think offensive line makes much more sense here.
So let's go with Emmanuel Pregnon here. He's the best available offensive lineman. Let's do that and just see where we're at here in the third. So we're only doing the first 3 rounds. So we are back on the clock here. Third round, pick 70 overall.
Ooh, look who's there.
Look who's there. Keelan Rutledge is available. But if we are considering all areas of need, I mean, tight end is one. I want to put you guys on Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. Love him. But if we look at tackle, Dustin, you're gonna love this one. I love Cage Casey here. I think
Take him.
that's really interesting. You have to solidify this offensive line. I'm in on him. I just don't like him maybe in the first 3 picks of this draft for the Browns. I'm in on him here. Let's look at linebacker. Let's look at corner. I don't know, guys. Another thing to consider, we'll talk about this later, is the AJ Epinesa trade or deal did not go through. You have to consider a rotational edge rusher. But for the sake of this, let's get our tackle. Let's go Cage Casey.
Yep.
And I think that's going to round us out here for this. Yeah. All right, so we got Caleb Downs, Denzel Boston, Pregnon, and Cage Casey. So that's what that would look like if we go best player available.
I'm checking. What was our grade? What did it give us grade?
I don't know if it's going to give us a grade on this site.
I think it does off to the right there. Doesn't it give you the grade?
No, I'm using a different tool.
Okay.
No, so this one does not.
But I'm saying Cage Casey, I'm a little biased, but he's a huge man. He's a very huge, I mean, and I can't say enough that the reason that Ashton Genty had all the yards he did was because of Cage Casey. He's the one that opened all those lanes for him. So
all right, so in this example, we'll do a total of 3 of these. So this first example, we went best player available, Caleb Downs, then Denzel Boston, and then we focused on the offensive line. With this next version, I want to go, and we'll skip trades, but I want to go strictly offensive line at 6 to see who's available later. So let's do this again. We're going to go Cleveland, first 3 rounds. We're going to go fast. Entering the draft room. All right, we're going to go offensive line with this first pick. So we essentially kind of have our pick. Monroe Freeling, Spencer Fano, Caden Proctor. As you know, I'm not in on Caden Proctor here.
I'm Fano, but that's me. Yeah.
Okay, David, any preference?
I like Freeling, but so we'll let you decide the difference.
All right, let's go Freeling here at 6, and then it's going to skip ahead to 24. I think it's pretty important to go receiver here because look at this drop off. There was one on receivers. Now, Casey Concepcion is the best available. And then there is a drop, right, with Brazel, Chris Bell, who I like. I just don't like at 24. So I'm inclined to go Concepcion. But if we look at some other areas, if we go back-to-back tackles, we could also get Caden Proctor. Also want to put you guys on Maxi Anakor, if I'm saying that correctly. Love this guy at Arizona State. He's got a lot of good tape out there, a lot of good football. Jennings Dunker. We could also consider corner. We could consider linebacker. So I just want to highlight here that if you go tackle first, there's a potential run on receivers because look at this. So
yeah, I think we got to go wide receiver here again.
All right,
I don't know how you feel, David, but I think we have to because there is a significant drop off after.
Oh, I think so. It's just this is where it gets really hard because I agree. I like Concepcion and like kind of the player that he can be, but he is not a wide receiver 1. So this is tough. And so do you kind of bank on maybe just finding a depth guy later in the draft at wide receiver 1 and just take him because he's the best available receiver? Or do you roll the dice on Brazel, who's got a little bit more height? He's 6'5" and 200 pounds. Is that someone that you want to like consider? That's I think the hardest decision in this point right now.
That's a good point.
Which one to go with?
To be fair, if we're between 2 receivers here, I think just to showcase for this exercise that there are 2 receivers that maybe we're kind of between. Let's just go receiver. Not necessarily pinpoint the player, but let's just go receiver. I'm going to take Casey Concepcion here. And then it's going to skip us ahead here to the 3rd round, or I'm sorry, our 2nd pick in the 2nd round. I also like Jeremy Bernard, Malachi Fields here, but let's look at edge. As I mentioned, this is going to be pretty interesting. I like Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. That's interesting. We can also look linebacker. You've got 2 of the best, C.J. Allen, Jacob Rodriguez, and Anthony Hill here. I know I said 2, and I mentioned 3, but you got some guys here. Corner. Tight end is going to be important. Let's do tight end. I think that's also a pretty significant area of need. Let's go with Eli Stowers just for the sake of it, and then we'll see where we're at on the next
3rd round. Yeah.
So let's try to go defense with this one. So let's start edge. Okay. Let's look. Linebacker. Nah, all right. Not in love with it.
Yeah. Okay.
IGB is available. Let's get safety. Genesis Smith is interesting.
What about corners?
Yeah, corners. I mean, IGB's there. That's not bad. Let's just take a peek here. I mean, you could also double down, right? Go Cage Casey again. I don't dislike that. Or get one of these guys. Malachi Fields here. I mean, we know that tackle and receiver are a huge area of need. Why not give whoever our starting quarterback is a couple of shiny new tools? Look at running back. Yeah. Let's just see what it looks like. Let's take Malachi Fields here for the sake of it.
So we took a corner. Sorry, is that you?
We took a receiver. So we took 2 receivers in this. So we went Monroe Freeling, Casey Concepcion, Eli Stowers, Malachi Fields. So that's what that would look like if you went tackle at 6, potentially.
And see, just like immediately looking at that, it fills needs so much better than going with Caleb at 6. And again, I know we started this conversation with asking generational talent versus position of need, and I just looking at this board and what the results are, it feels a little better to me because it really does address the team needs specifically, and you're still getting a very high value offensive tackle there in Monroe Freeling.
It's true. I mean, especially at your positions of need at receiver, you can still get guys that aren't going to be there at 24 or that will be there at 24 that'll be available in the second and third round, right? Malachi Fields, I think, would be a day one difference maker on this team as it's currently constructed, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting. So let's kind of flip it at 6 on this next one. Let's go receiver and try to get a tackle at 24.
Yep.
So last one here. We're only going to do the first 3 rounds just to see a little bit fast. There's our draft room. All right, let's get started. Okay, we're going to reject that. What did I say we're going to do? Receiver?
Receiver.
Yep. All right, so Carnell Tate's here. Let's take him and just see what this looks like, which I would like. I would be in favor of this. Trades. So at 24, I think it's pretty important to consider offensive tackle here. All right, this is interesting, guys. This is interesting. So I think these first 4 guys, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, Maxi Anakor, Jennings Dunker, are all day one contributors, in my opinion.
This is where I feel much more content taking a Proctor of his massive size, and he can, with the new offensive line coach, build into that position. I'm much more comfortable here at 24 with Proctor.
Yeah. David, where are you at with this?
I agree. Like, this is a place where I'd feel better about him. I still think the Jed Wills thing has me a little hesitant. I'd totally be happy with Caleb Lomu. I mean, I'd be happy with Proctor too, but I think this is a great position here to be taking a tackle.
I really think you can't go wrong. So just like we did on the last one with receivers, let's just take a tackle, not necessarily pinpointing exactly which one us 3 would necessarily take, but just to showcase there's a list of guys here that I think could be day one contributors. We're just going to take the first one here. That's Caden Proctor. So you get Carnell Tate and Caden Proctor with your first 2 picks. Then here in the second round, you got Jennings Dunker. We are sending this in. I just want to see real quickly
who else is around.
Is here. Want to put you guys on this safety out of Toledo, McNeil Warren, a guy. This is a guy that I think is potentially a first-round pick. I think he's pretty good. Yeah. I don't really want to take him here. I don't think safety is like the area of need. And when you've got somebody on the board, well, you've got a couple of guys here on the board. You've got Casey Concepcion available. You've got Jennings Dunker available. I think you really hammer those areas of need. Would you guys agree?
Here's the thing: you win football games in the trenches. If you can load up here, I think you take Dunker.
We're doing it, Jennings Dunker. I love this, by the way. This is my favorite so far. All right, and with our last pick here. Now, let's just look at best available. D'Angelo Pons, the corner out of Indiana, is available to you. Eli Stowers is here. Keontae Scott, the corner out of Miami.
Ooh.
By the way, where's Lorenzo Styles? Is he projected like a 4th, 5th rounder? Does that sound about right?
I would probably think fifth.
Okay.
Most. I would think. I think a team's gonna maybe take him even sooner just because of his speed. But
Yeah, as I say, man.
207.
what is that, David?
207 is his overall rank.
Okay, 207. So what do you guys think? I'm kind of inclined to go defense here. If we look at edge rusher. Yeah.
I always say corners are an area of need. I would go with the Indiana corner here.
Oh, let's do that. All right, guys. I think that actually may be my favorite out of all of these scenarios so far. You get Carnell Tate, who is for this team. You double down on tackle. Caden Proctor and Jennings Dunker. Love it. And then go defense with your third round pick. So here we've got some grades: A+, C+ with Jennings Dunker, and then A+ again. What do you guys think? Out of those scenarios, best available, tackle first, receiver first, where do you guys fall here?
I like this because first and foremost, what's the strength of our defense, our defensive line? What could be an amazing thing on offense? The strength of our offensive line. You go back to 2021, 2020, 2022, the teeth of our offensive line is what gave us a great running game, opened up the play calling for Baker Mayfield and some of those players downfield. It all starts in the trenches, and if you can solidify that now for the next 5 to 7 years, I'm all in.
David, what do you think?
Yeah, that last one's my favorite too. I think that's a pretty awesome sequence, and obviously those pieces have to fall in place on actual draft day to make it happen. But to be able to get two pretty high level tackles back to back, I really like that. And so we know that Carnell is going to be a day one contributor, even if maybe he's not, going to rise to the level of someone like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. Like, he's still going to be a very good wide receiver. So I'm very happy with that's the situation they land in.
I'm in tears right now over Jason.
Jason. Halle Berry is from Cleveland. I live in the Halle building, which she was named after, but she is not Andrew Berry.
Send it to Halle Berry. Oops, not Halle Berry. What the hell?
Jason, are you having cocktails while you're watching the show at home? Are you dipping into Larry's Lorella wine?
Jason, I got to tell you, David and I so often get off this podcast and say, my God, Jason's a funny guy. He cracks up. So,
you should hang out with him. He's a right person.
He's ridiculous.
Him and I will go out to the bar sometimes on Saturday night, and he knows I've gave him an Irish goodbye. I'm like, I'm out, dude. I don't know what your crazy nonsense is going to turn into tonight. And then he'll be like, where'd you go? I'm like, I'm out. But yeah, he's a fun guy. He's good.
He is a fun guy. All right. So that's what that can look like. Obviously, guys, I am completely expecting draft night to look nothing like that. Nothing at all like that. That's just the way that this goes.
Well, hey, Cleveland Browns could be watching us, and maybe they'll pick up on some of those drafts. Hey, if the Cleveland Browns take Cage Casey, you know me, I'll be doing somersaults. So
Halle Berry and Condoleezza Rice, they're watching. If you know, you know.
Well, allegedly, Condoleezza Rice was at one point going to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
That's what I was getting to.
Allie, do you remember that? The whole thing?
Said that.
Adam Scheffner was so pissed because the Browns put that out there just for him to report on that, and it was just like it's April Fool's, so maybe Jason's playing an April Fool's joke on us. Should we talk a little bit about the NFL meetings? Should we get into that a little bit?
Yeah, just briefly. I know we talked a little bit about Jimmy, what he had to say. As we know, Coach Todd Monken did not make the group picture because he was getting a haircut. So that's not great.
By the way,
Browns thing ever.
No, hang on a second. So I'm going to defend Todd Monken on this. So all of this was made because he said he was getting a haircut and he messed up the timing.
Yeah.
You know who also wasn't in that picture?
Sean McVay.
Yeah, one of the most decorated head coaches in the National Football League. So they put all the smoke on us because we're the Browns, of course. But I'm like, well, why aren't you going after Miss McVay for him not being in the picture? So I don't know. I think it's
I saw that. I got a little frustrated for the same reason. It's like, man, people love to make fun of the Browns, but there was the head coach of the Rams that, it's just kind of
Yeah,
silly.
I mean, probably someone argued that possibly top 3 coaches in the NFL, right? I mean, easily.
I think
You got Andy Reid, Sean McVay. I mean, he falls into that category, right? Like it's like
let's do this. I think it's Sean McVay. Sean McVay's number 2, right? You got Andy Reid, Sean McVay.
Ooh.
yeah, and then I'd say Harbaugh number 3. I think Harbaugh would be number 3.
What do you mean? Ugh.
No, I agree. I agree. I was just that wasn't a negative. I agree with you. I was just trying to like think of all of them quickly. That's why I went ugh. But no, absolutely.
Cheers to that, Jason. Also, Jason is just dropping truth here. He says you guys are the best. So true. So true. But let's get into the owners meeting. Dustin, take us away.
Yeah, first and foremost, Andrew Berry looked annoyed when Mary Kay asked questions about Myles Garrett in the trade. He said, I understand the question, but respectively, I'm really tired of talking about this. He's a Brown. He's a cornerstone of our team. Now, the language does give them options down the road, but it would be a huge cap hit this year. So it's not happening. Myles Garrett's going to be here. He's going to play this year. So let's just – I mean, that's smoke that's just bad smoke. Jimmy did make a statement. It could go from a swing and a miss to a home run. I mean, he definitely said that. And so I've said this, and I said I will not be shocked if Shedeur Sanders does not beat out Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson could very easily be the starter week 1. We don't know what we're going to see from Deshaun Watson until he's out there in live pads, right? We think he's healthy, but we just don't know. There was also some stuff made of Dylan Gabriel not being in the building. Well, he's also from Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii. You know how long it would take you to get from Cleveland to Hawaii from here? A long time. He's working out in the offseason. And guess what? Myles Garrett ain't in the building, and he ain't going to show up for a while. So I don't make anything of that. Other things where Andrew Berry saw that there was the rule to extend from 3 to 5 years for the
– that dropped.
Yeah, because I think everybody said that was dead on arrival. Now, I think what he was trying to do was at least start a conversation. And I think that definitely is going to be a real thing. I think at some point with further discussion that will get passed because it just makes sense in a lot of ways to give teams flexibility like the NBA has. And I'm trying to think what else that kind of came out of the meetings. They changed the rule on kickoff. You can do something different now on kickoff. You can declare something other than the fourth quarter. Did I see something like that? Did you see that, Allie?
Outside kick? All 4 quarters?
Is that it? I don't.
Hang on, I got it right here.
For that. While you're looking that up, guys, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, it is loved by millions. So be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now.
And 20% off at stadiummustard.com. Always 20% using the code Brownies. Onside kick rule. A new rule was approved allowing teams to declare an onside kick at any time during the game, not just the fourth quarter. So that's the new rule change. Owners also voted that Friday games will no longer count as a short week game, giving more scheduling flexibility. You'll like this, David, in regards to medical stuff, mental health resources. All clubs, including the Browns, are now mandated to employ a full-time mental health clinical in all of the teams.
Yeah. Awesome.
So the only other thing was you already addressed it. And then, of course, we talked about obviously the Deshaun Watson. And then the Browns gave an update on their stadium that they will be doing the groundbreaking on April 30th officially here in Cleveland for the new stadium in Brook Park. So those were just kind of the roundabout there.
There you have it. Real quick, I want to tell you about our friends over at We Bleed Ohio. Guys, if you're looking for your official Here We Go Brownies podcast hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt, they have it there. Or, of course, if you are looking for any baseball, football, basketball designs, they can do it custom there. I have a question for one of our listeners, Craig Foster. I'm calling you out. I saw on Facebook, and I told David about this, and I'm craving it, even though I've never had it. You had a peanut butter burger. I need to know more about that. I need to know how that actually was. I've looked all around town here in Pensacola. It doesn't exist. So we've got burgers on the grill. It looked like, Dustin, it was a regular burger, bacon, or cheeseburger, bacon, and a layer of peanut butter on the
Gross.
bun.
Gross.
I think I want to try. I don't know how.
No. Peanut butter goes with jelly. Peanut butter goes with jelly. It doesn't go on a hot piece of meat. Absolutely not. I think that is. I think. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Craig.
Looks good. I'd be interested to. I don't know if I'd want the whole thing for myself, right? Like if we were to go to a restaurant, I'd want David to get it so I could bite it and be done. So I could just go back to something else.
Here, David. Here's your
But
peanut butter.
I want to try.
I don't know. Like peanut butter.
I know. It doesn't exist in Pensacola. I did look. So.
Well, David, do you have peanut butter at the house?
We do. We got peanut butter here. We
go.
don't have bacon though, so.
I can see where the salt and the sweet, that makes sense, the salt and the sweet. The peanut butter is the salt that, the sweet and the salt. I know what they're doing there from a recipe standpoint. They're trying to, you got the salty versus the sugary of the peanut butter. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I'd be willing to give it a shot. So, all right, everybody. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we wrap up?
I didn't get a chance to bring it up, but with the AJ Epinesa trade, there's really no clear indication on what it was, and it's kind of interesting because he's been relatively durable throughout his career. He only missed one game last season. A little bit of issues with a concussion as well as a neck issue and foot injury, but he only missed one game, so it's not made public what he failed, but clearly there was some kind of red flag that the Browns didn't like. So if I ever hear or it gets released, I'll make sure that we're updated on that.
Awesome.
I was just going to say Guardians kick off here in about 20 minutes. Hopefully they can take the series with the Dodgers, so that would be kind of nice. They actually got a win and gave the first loss for the Dodgers this season, and opening day is here in Cleveland on Friday, so excited for that opening day.
Going?
I am going opening day. By the way, anybody should buy these. I'm just saying, the best value in Cleveland for sports is the standing room only tickets, $49 a month. It is a steal. I mean, you can go, and it gives you the flexibility. And now with the remodeled ballpark, Allie, have you been there since they've remodeled it now?
It's been I don't think so.
Yeah. So now you have the remodeled seats. You have their whole new terrace up there. So if you want to go sit or stand in the standing room only, you can mosey around to the bars and stuff like that for $49 to go all month to baseball. That is a steal, in my opinion, for $49. So I bought the standing room only tickets because also you get to do all the promotional stuff too for $49. It's just too good of a deal. I mean, I can barely go to if I'm lucky, I can go to a Cavs game, one game for $49. Yeah. So
David, what's that face about?
Well, Jason, or who was it? George said the Lauder's going to be out all season. I think that's an April Fool's joke. I think he's trying to turn on Friday.
It was a freak accident, and he is playing Friday, according to many sources.
So, come on, man.
Don't mess with my DeLauder. Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that.
Killing us. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Fun show. We are looking ahead to the draft. I've got a ton of anxiety about it, but thank you for all listening to my crazy thoughts and being my therapist for an hour. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans,